Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk. He's on. My name's Chad. Take a dive on sports. And welcome to my Week 8 NFL recap video. We're going over all the games that happened over this past weekend of NFL action from last Thursday night game in Tampa to the Halloween Havoc of last night. I kind of go over how I did in terms of my picks and look at all that aspects and throwing a little bit of the news in there as well. But before I dive into all that, if you could go ahead and smash that thumbs up for me, especially like the content I provide you, really pleases you two guides. It really helps the channels out. You can also subscribe. A lot of you guys review my work. Not many of you subscribe. Doesn't cost you a dime. Helps me provide more time value for you. Now, last week, or this week, should I say, I actually went 9-6. So I maintained the same amount of wins I've had the past 2 weeks. And because there's an extra game this week, I lost that extra game. I went on a limb in a lot of these games. I made a lot of changes from a preseason poll or preseason prediction video in this one. Kind of a mixed bag reaction, some of those. So we'll start this off with last Thursday's action down in Tampa where the Buccaneers are playing host to Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. And early, it looked more like a Tampa Bay was going to win this game. But after the first punt, and there was a muffed punt that was covered by Baltimore. The defense shut down and made Baltimore kick the field goal. Tampa Bay ran off 10 unanswered points. And it looked like it was going to be a one-sided affair, and that's how it was at the half, 10-3. Then he came back on the field after halftime, and Baltimore just stepped up, and they just rattled off 14 points in quick succession. And was just outpacing Tampa Bay. Towards the end of the game, it was more looking like Tampa Bay could possibly come back and actually win this one. They actually drove down, hit a touchdown, failed a 2-point conversion, tried to do an onside kick, was not successful. Baltimore was able to hold on and beat Tampa Bay 27-22 to start off my week with a victory. Now we head across the pond into London, England, where the NFL is playing their last game in London this year in Wembley Stadium. This is actually a stadium I went to watch a game in England when I was stationed there. Very unique experience. This is where the Jacksonville Jaguars were playing host to the Denver Broncos. And Russell Wilson was going to be the starter once again. Of course, he had the whole weird thing of him doing, exercises in the aisles and the flight over. And there's so much different things talking about, okay, are these guys actually on the same page now or whatnot? Jacksonville's one of these teams, you're just looking for them to, get over that hump. Right now they're in a hump of losing a lot. And they started out great. And they started off wonderful. I mean, they got a touchdown in the first quarter. It looked like they were going to dominate. They were but it wasn't. It was more of a defensive struggle or defensive battle or offensive struggle, depending how you want to look at it. But Denver was slowly starting to develop. They were starting to get things in motion. Russell Wilson wasn't that great of a passing. He only had 252 yards and a touchdown. But they were doing enough to help set up and score touchdowns when they needed to score touchdowns. The defense was actually stepping up to the plate against Jacksonville and shutting them down, even though they couldn't stop the run. And today was, had over 150 yards and a touchdown on the ground for the Jags. But Jacksonville couldn't capitalize on anything. Denver's defense was stepping up. Once Denver got that late lead in the fourth at 21-17, they went back to Jacksonville. There's plenty of time for Jacksonville to do it. You saw that do it last week against the Giants. And when Trevor Lawrence threw it against the Giants, it was short by a couple of yards. The guy was trying to make his momentum carry him in the end zone, but he was prevented from going in there. Lawrence threw an interception, which iced it. Denver was able to go into London, squeak out a victory, 21-17, giving me my first loss. Then we have the Big D, where the Cowboys playing host to the Bears, and both teams were wearing their colored uniforms, and the Chicago's wearing the all orange and the orange helmet, which I thought will look good in that combination, and then just look like big giant pumpkins. I mean, that was the theme they were going for. I don't know. For the Cowboys, they were out without Ezekiel Elliott, so everything's running through Troy Pollard. Or Tony Pollard, sorry. Which wasn't an issue. He was just running amok. He had over 130 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. The Bears couldn't tackle him. It was Chicago showed some life in the second quarter because they ended up posting up 17 points. You know, it was like 28-17 at the half. But after that, it was all Dallas. They were just way too much. Chicago kept going for 2-point plays in the second half instead of just kicking extra points. They're so far behind. Why go for 2? Because you missed the first one. Then when you get the next touchdown, you go for 2 again to make up for the point you lost. That's just me. That's how I look at things. I look at things as like, okay, you're looking at the distance that you have to overcome, and you're looking at trying to add, an extra point. Like it's going to make a difference. I understand analytics say, no, in this situation you go for 2. You just get all the points you can possibly get. I rather get the points you can get. You just go from there. Then when you're down by 2, then yeah, go for 2. That's just me. That's why I'm not head coach. But no, it was just, and there was a play that Justin Fields threw an interception, and it got tipped around, and it landed in Michael Parsons. So Michael Parsons on the ground. Justin Fields was running to him. Instead of touching him, stopped, jumped over him, and Michael Parsons ran it in for a touchdown. You can't make this stuff up. There is something wrong right now in Chicago, and they need to fix it. And trading away players, I don't think is going to be a thing. I understand you're trying to get draft picks back from when the last administration just gave them away like they were nothing. Here, you get draft pick, you get draft pick. Now they're trying to get some of those picks back, and they're not getting the same picks in return. I mean, you already traded one to Philadelphia, and then last night the Bears traded away Roquan Smith to Baltimore for a 2nd and 5th round pick. Really? You trade your 1st round pick for a 2nd and a 5th and a linebacker. I'm good the Bears are going to give up this season. Well, I didn't have them back in the playoffs anyways, but I thought they would do a little bit better. But yeah, Dallas was too much. Beat up Chicago 49-29. Then we head to Hotlanta. Ooh, what a finish that game was. P.J. Walker, who's the number 3 quarterback on the Carolina Panthers, looks like a legitimate number 1, at least for the Panthers. They had no head coach. Sam Donald has been injured. Baker Mayfield is being inept. You trade away McCaffrey, you trade away a receiver, and yet this team's finding ways to be competitive. P.J. Walker and J.J. Moore have a nice connection with each other. But it was a back and forth game. It came towards the end of the game. There's like barely any time left, but Carolina found a way to take the ball and hit J.J. Moore with a phenomenal bomb. I mean, he was double covered and still caught the ball. Now, this is where things are going to get interesting because once he scored, he started, unstrap his helmet and the helmet came off. Flag 15 yards, unsportsmanlike conduct. Now, looking at commentators, former players, and other, fans of the game are divided on this penalty itself because they look into the why it was actually called, because he was called for actually taking off his helmet to field of play. He was off the field of play. Now, they may have called that particular thing wrong. What they should have called was excessive celebration. In that aspect, you can't come off the bench to participate in the celebration, you can't take off your helmet, can't use props. DJ Moore took off his helmet. That's how the call should have went. They called it a different way, which, if you look at the rules, did not technically meet the criteria. But they also look at what they do for the celebrations. They can't take off your helmet during a celebration, and that's after the play. Do the same thing with defenses when they were off, run to the other end and celebrate. You can't do it then either. Unless the whistle's been blown, there's a timeout and whatnot, then you can take off the helmet. But that was that. So that put the kicker in a longer extra point. It was instead of like a 33-yard, it being like a 47-yard field goal, something, extra point. He missed it. Now, if DJ Moore would left his helmet on, he could have made it and been the game-winning extra point. Which means now they go into overtime. The kicker had a shot at redemption. Failed to make a field goal in overtime to win the game for Carolina, which gave Atlanta a shot to win it. Their kicker's pretty much automatic, it seems like, most of the time, and he was able to kick the game winner. So Atlanta was able to win 37-34. Now, a lot of people are trying to say DJ Moore does deserve the blame. It goes on the kicker. It goes on both. DJ Moore, in his excitement of making a phenomenal catch and, game tying with the team about to win when they didn't have a shot to win, had a momentary lapse in judgment and did something he totally regretted. Now, should the kicker have made the extra point? Yeah. He's capable of doing that. Should he made the game-winning field goal in overtime? Yeah, absolutely. So the kicker does deserve some of the blame as well. Probably a little bit more DJ Moore because he had two opportunities to win the game and failed to do that. But DJ Moore gave him that penalty at the end of the game, or into the fourth quarter, towards the end of the fourth quarter in regulation. They kind of give the kicker a bad spot. And that distance, depending on your kicker, unless you're Justin Tucker, you're not going to make it. You're not, like automatic, should I say. Not really, you're not going to make it. But that's just my take. But I had Atlanta for a win anyway, so I was happy for that. Then we head off to the Motor City, where the Lions are playing host to the Dolphins. And here I went on the edge. I decided to take a little gamble. Go, you know what? I'm going to go with Detroit. I picked them in the preseason to win this game. And then it'll be one of these weird games that they end up winning. And it looked that way early. It was 27-17 at halftime. Detroit was zooming right along, but the defense just let up. The offense just went inept, and then it was a completely different team in the second half than the first half. Campbell's like, I need to get back on the field to show these guys how to do it because they're not listening. I don't know what Detroit really needs to do to revitalize it, but Tua Tagovailoa once again stepped up to the plate. Over 380 yards in the air, including 3 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill had 180 yards receiving. Jalen Waddle had 2 touchdowns where he ended up doing the waddle. Just a nice 3-headed monster in the aerial attack that makes it really hard to defend that aspect, especially Tua is also a very mobile quarterback as well, so you got that aspect you got to worry about. But Atlanta was able to battle back, come back, and win 31-27. Shut out Detroit that second half. Didn't let them score a point. And that was part of my many woes I had. We up to Minnesota. Minnesota, don't you know? They hosted the Arizona Cardinals. This is just one of those games that Arizona was having some success here and there because Kyler Murray had over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. DeAndre Hopkins almost had 160 yards receiving with a touchdown. but they couldn't stop the run. Delvin Cook had over 100 yards with a touchdown. It was just a nice, steady game where it was the offense was being very efficient, very effective, picking their spots to make the calls, to make the right decisions. Minnesota scoring touchdowns compared to Arizona's field goals. That was pretty much the difference in this game, as Minnesota was able to outpace Arizona 34-26 to go to 6-1 and still not getting any love. Then we head down to New Orleans, where the Raiders were coming to town to take on the Saints. And this was a game that I completely got wrong. I changed it from my previous season. I went with Las Vegas. I'm like, this has to be the game. It wasn't a game. Alvin Kamara became a dual threat. I mean, he was running, he was receiving. He had over 150 combined yards and 3 combined touchdowns, as he was the jack of all trades, as New Orleans shut out Las Vegas 24-0. I don't know what's wrong with Las Vegas. There should be a better team than they were last year. And last year they just squeaked into the playoffs. This year they should be in the playoffs. They're looking for like a top 10 draft pick now. This is how bad this team's going. To the New York, where the Jets are playing host to the Patriots. And I was going, all right, this is the chance for the Jets to kind of get one over on Bill Belichick, get a victory against the Patriots. They're hated rivals in the East. But Mac Jones is now the full starter, even though the previous week he was pulled for Zappe because he technically was not 100% according to Bill Belichick. Now he is, and they took on Zach Wilson, who reverted back to his rookie year where he was just throwing the ball any which way, trying to emulate Patrick Mahomes. And he looked like me, throwing the football to the wrong people. And I'm not a quarterback. He was just making some really bad decisions with the ball. He didn't really try to throw it. He's trying to throw it out of bounds, but still make it a possibility for his guys to make their catch in triple double coverage. I mean, he made no sense a lot of his throws. I think they put up a stat that he's had 3 touchdowns in 5 games, but also 5 interceptions. But the first 3 games he came back, he threw no picks, no touchdowns. The difference between those games and the previous 2, Bryce Hall. They don't have Bryce Hall anymore. So the whole Jets offensive mindset just got completely shattered. Now they don't know what to do. Which is a shame because they should have had the next guy up established, but apparently he's not that good. I don't know. I'm just kind of, making some wild accusations. That's what I do. But Zach Wilson had over 350 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, but 3 picks, as New England was able to outpace the Jets, win 22-17. They move Bill Belichick ahead of Papa Bear himself, George Halas, number 2 all-time wins. I mean, there's no doubt Bill Belichick is probably one of the greatest coaches to ever coach the NFL field. Especially all the championships he's got. I mean, you look at Lombardi, at Lambeau, Halas, Belichick. These are the Mount Rushmore NFL coaches. So congrats on Bill Belichick for that one. And now we head to the Keystone Cup, the battle between the Steelers and Eagles in the city of brotherly love, where the Eagles, the only undefeated team in the NFL, is looking to maintain that against a Steelers team that's just reeling right now. The defense, every so often, Spencer Denter's back in, it becomes, a monster. It looks like they're going for treats instead of tricks. Philadelphia and the connection between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown is phenomenal when they go for 156 yards and 3 touchdowns together. If you can't stop Hollywood Brown, this Eagles team is just going to decimate you in the air. And even if you do shut down Brown, Jalen Hurts gets you with your legs. It wasn't even close at all. So for like the first quarter, that was it. It was too much Philadelphia. They was just ran away, 35-13 to remain to remain undefeated. Possibly the number one team in the league. Some still say Buffalo, but they are scary. Then we head down to Houston, where Tennessee Titans came to town. Malik Willis was making his NFL debut. Tannehill was ruled out for this game. Prior to that, I thought Houston was going to win this game just because it's just one of those weird games that Houston could win. One of these weird ones. And why not get the team that used to play in Houston? For those who don't remember, Tennessee Titans used to be the Houston Oilers until Adams decided to move the team to Tennessee when he went to get in the stadium. Play a season in Memphis as the Tennessee Oilers before moving to Nashville. They finally built a new stadium and then becoming the Titans. But Derrick Henry decided to insert himself in this game and decided to come back to dominance once again as he had over 200 yards rushing. He alone was just, he used the focal point. It makes, Malik Willis' job easier. Just, hey, hand off to King Henry. Here you go. Here you go, sire. Here you go, sire. Go bruise him for me. And when the Houston defense has to worry about King Henry, and it kind of leaves a little bit off of Malik Willis. He really doesn't have to do much. Mills on their side didn't have much time to do much of passing. He only had 152 yards passing. Cooks only had 73 yards receiving, so they couldn't get a connection. Now there's rumors of him possibly getting traded, or at least interest in him getting possibly added to a roster somewhere, like Green Bay. But Tennessee just able to hold on, beat Houston 17-10. It wasn't anything fancy. They just did necessary things to do, and just cruised to a nice victory. Then we head up to Indy, where the Colts decided to bench Matt Ryan. I know Matt Ryan hasn't lived up to expectations, but this is the multi-million-dollar quarterback you brought in to take your team to the next level. Because Carson Wentz wasn't doing it for you. You thought you might have a shot because of the background they had in Philadelphia with Frank Reich and him. It just didn't work, so they bring in Matt Ryan. So bench him. Yeah, that makes sense. That looked pretty legit kind of call because even though it was an ugly game, it was just bad all around. I feel sorry for just people watching this game. It just didn't look very exciting at all. But Indianapolis had a late lead towards the end of the game. They're leading 16-10. Taylor Heineke had a phenomenal throw to McLaren that set up a game-winning touchdown as the Washington Commanders went into Indianapolis, beat the Colts 17-16 in a game I called. One of the few calls I made that people were shocked with, but I actually called that one. Then we head to L.A. where the Rams are playing host to the 49ers, and this is the second game with Christian McCaffrey now in the system, and he is fully indoctrinated into this 49ers offense because he threw for a touchdown, caught a touchdown, and ran for a touchdown. And something you want to think, but a 3-touchdown day by Christian McCaffrey. Had 94 yards on the ground. He was a focal point on this offense that just decimated the Rams. It wasn't even close. This is the 49ers team I was envisioning in my preseason as being the NFC rep in the Super Bowl. That if things go the right direction for the 49ers, they look phenomenal. Right now, they're only 4-4, but I think as Christian McCaffrey becomes more and more comfortable in this offense, get some of the pressure off of Jimmy G. And he has McCaffrey, he has Deebo Samuels, he has George Kittle. I mean, Luke as well. I mean, he has the weapons on offense. Makes the job for the defense a lot easier because now, teams going to be more aggressive. It allows them to be, more aggressive on defense because they know the offense is going to make up any differences they mess up. But they went to L.A. and dominated the Rams 31-14. So we got to see what happens with the Rams coming up. But, yeah, they look, they're definitely not the same team. Bobby Wagner is definitely not replacing Von Miller. Aaron Donald, I don't know. I think they're signing him a bit. Stafford got his ring, so why he's going to play anymore? I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's just so many things wrong right now in Los Angeles with the Rams. They're definitely trying to get a running back to help them out, but yeah, that's where they're at. And that was for, spoiler alert, my last loss. So I win the next 3 games. Go me. And let's go off to the Pacific Northwest where the Seahawks are playing host to the Giants. In a game I think a lot of people didn't give this, actually didn't give the Giants much love on this one. And I know it's just a matter of time for the Giants actually got caught in this type of game. And it's one of these things that Geno Smith that's really starting to develop once again into the quarterback that I think a lot of people expect him to be. Like Geno Smith and Jacoby Brissett both are just 2 guys that a lot of people don't have a lot of faith into because of the journeymen they are in the league. But both of them have found ways to be good winners, but we get to Brissett later. And Geno Smith has been very effective. I mean, he has 2 very good receivers that he can throw to. He has Walker's now stepped up to the plate in the running game, replace Penny. So Seattle all around looks pretty good. The defense, a little bit a suspect, but they are young, so they should be able to start filling some pieces themselves. They didn't give Daniel Jones much time for the Giants, which kind of helped out. Key turnovers here and there were evident. And there was a play, scoring drive. Pete Carroll celebrating. He got in the way of the referee because he was more on the solid white line than really behind it. So he got away in the ref. He got flagged for it, and he was laughing the entire time. He even told the ref, "It's like, hey, yeah, I messed up. You made the right call. I mean, I can't yell at you for that." But let you know that he's starting to really enjoy himself once again. The old man on the sidelines for the Seahawks really starting to enjoy this team and how they really to rebound. You look at the press conferences with the players; they're like, look at the team we're doing as a team. Looking for individual accolades, which I think was a little shot at Russ. But the Seahawks was just too much for the Giants. They ended up beating them 27-13, moving them 5-3. Surprise team right now in the NFC, both of them actually. So we'll kind of see what happens later on down the road. Then Sunday night, we have the Buffalo, where the Bills are playing host to the Packers. And there was already some, as the teams are coming out, Diggs was already John Alexander of the Packers. And that was evident all night long. These guys were getting into it. They even got Davis involved as well with the Bills into this jawing match with the Packers secondary. And it wasn't the best performance by Josh Allen. I mean, he did have a run where he got hit at the 2 or 3 yard line, and he was jawing with the safety there. I mean, this was one of these chippy little games that surprised. They didn't really get out of hand. They pretty much told these guys, "Hey, you need to calm this down a bit. I mean, you guys get a little carried away." But the Packers receivers are starting to step up. Dobbs, especially for the Packers, are actually making some catches, which makes Aaron Rodgers happy. But he didn't have much time to really make any throws. A lot of tip balls that got turned to interceptions by both quarterbacks. But Buffalo was able to win an ugly game. They weren't at their best. I mean, they went up 24-7 at half. But the Packers defense stepped up and shut them down in the second half. Only got them 3 points, but that was more than enough. Buffalo's defense is just too powerful, and was able to beat Green Bay 27-17. Still making them the number 1 team in the AFC and a force to be reckoned with. Then the night where all the ghouls and goblins and ghosts and witches and demons and go out and start knocking on strangers' doors asking for food. And my little ones went out themselves, had the Grim Reaper and Raven and a character from Naruto. I don't know. I don't watch too much of that anime, so the other went out and enjoyed themselves. We had the Cleveland Browns hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Cincinnati's going to be without Jamar Chase because he's out for 4 weeks. He's on the IR. And one thing I actually found interesting, Burrow has yet to defeat Cleveland in his career. The Browns head coach has yet to lose against the Bengals in his career, which I didn't even know that was an actual thing, and apparently it is. And it was Chubb was like a big focal point, and so was Mari Cooper, the Browns offense. I mean, those two guys were just lighting up Cleveland, especially the defense. Joe Burrow got sacked 5 times. 5. I think he has 30 overall so far this season. I mean, you can't win games when your quarterback is on the ground. It looks bad on you. Cleveland was able to, Cincinnati was able to get some points later on, but it was ugly that first half. I might give you that one because it was just, no points in that first quarter. Cleveland missed an extra point. Then actually there's a penalty which allowed them to move up and get a 2-point play and then get the field goal. So they got 11 points. McPherson missed a field goal in the first half. And then he missed an extra point later on. So, he left, 4 points off the board, but it didn't matter. Cleveland's defense was just all over Cincinnati. And like I said, Burrow got sacked 5 times. He can't do anything. Brissett was very effective. Over 270 yards passing. He only had a touchdown. Chubb had 100 yards rushing with 2 TDs. Mari Cooper 131 yards receiving. I mean, it was just one of those games. Cleveland was hitting all the buttons correctly. And the Brownie Elf was the monster that tamed the Bengals as they beat them 32-13, moved to 3-5 on the season, and really kind of make that AFC North a little bit more weird, and especially with Cleveland, kind of moving along with Jacoby Brissett. If I'm Jacoby Brissett, I'll tell him, just keep that Deshaun guy, just leave him off the bench. He could be the backup for me this year. I got this. I doubt that because they paid too much money for Watson. But there you go. That is my recap of the week. I actually went 9-6. I thought I'd do a little bit better. I did kind of took a gamble here and there just to kind of see what would happen. A lot of it failed. Well, that's why I don't really gamble. So we have that going. So the next week's going to be quite a few interesting games. There's going to be a lot of teams off next week, so kind of be mindful of that one. We're going to have 6 teams off to include Cleveland. By that time frame, you'll probably see more news about. I'll probably get my preview video out early because of one. You got to look at the trade deadline, which is going to be like 4:00 today as I record this video on Tuesday. And then I'll be able to highlight some of the trades before I make up, the final my picks for the week. So it could be a week early, or a day early, because I got things I got to do on the day, and I'm going to do that video. So there we go. But yeah. Well, those were my games, my picks. Like I said, 9-6. What game surprised you the most? What game you look forward to next week that should really maybe change your mind on a few teams here and there. You guys looking at the next week, there's not many games out there except for maybe the Ravens and Saints, and Rams and Bucks, even Titans and Chiefs. I mean, who knows? But let me know down below. Where you there? You go ahead, share this video with your friends and family, or help promote the video out. You can also hit that thumbs up once again. Once you subscribe, make sure you hit that bell to let you know the next time I post any more content on my channel. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.